I'm Spazo, and this is the 28 House. And I am about 45 minutes removed from the launch of, I believe, Star Wars Battlefront 2. All
The
right.
second Star Wars Battlefront 2, believe it or not.
Oh yes, I've played the original.
Me too.
All those weird tanks with the wheels doing the things like that. Oh yeah, I remember. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Nintendo guy.
Okay.
The bag and everything. So I don't play a lot of EA games, and I don't play a lot of Star Wars games. So tell me about Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2. Admittedly, I don't know a lot about Battlefront 2 specifically. Not Battlefront 2. I know about Battlefront 2 1. I know about Battlefront 1 2. I don't know about Battlefront 1 1. But I know about Battlefront 1 2 and Battlefront 2 1.
I think that clears it up. Tell me about the game that came out 45 minutes ago, because I've heard that there's been a bit of controversy about this game.
That I don't. What have you heard?
I've heard that EA kind of EA'd all over the place.
That I do know about. Okay. From what I know, my name's Joshua, by the way.
Yes, tell me about yourself and tell me what your deal is.
My name's Joshua. I'm a YouTuber, local. I'm here at a GameStop event for the release of Battlefront 2. Gamers don't like pay to play. They don't like pay to win. They don't like content being stuck behind.
Yeah, because.
And when Battlefront 2 initially was like announced and talking about how it all works, there was a huge like pay to win loot crate system where you had to buy loot boxes to get any of the good equipment, good gear, anything.
Now, from what I understand about loot boxes, because I think the only game I've played that uses them is Injustice 2. There's no guarantee when you get a platinum loot box, or we'll just say for the sake of a platinum loot box, that you're going to get what you want.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee.
I don't know if you could buy individual equipment. I haven't followed the news story completely closely, but I just know that there was a lot of the equipment was behind a paywall. And people didn't like that. So they changed it somewhat to be better, probably.
So I'm okay on the Star Wars thing. I'm a Trekkie.
Honestly, I am too.
So for me, and
I go both ways. It's weird.
Absolutely.
Like the French.
Buy sci-fi. And I could see you're a fan of Star Wars. So it must have been hard.
How could you tell?
Well, I'm a fan of whatever this hat says.
A large silver rainbow.
Yeah. And so for me personally, I don't really have a dog in the fight. So a lot of people are saying EA's bad or Disney's bad or whatever. And me personally, I'm like, well, that's bad for them. But you obviously love Star Wars.
I do indeed.
So did it hurt to find out that this is the way the game was made? Or at the very least, this is the way the game was sold?
It was disappointing. And thankfully, I think they fixed it pretty quickly. So that's not the game anyone's actually getting, thankfully. They're getting one where you can just get equipment in-game. You still do have to pay for some stuff, I think, but it's not as hardcore as it was.
For me, comparably would be something like, I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. And I had to decide if the movies were so bad that even my love of Ninja Turtles, I'd be like, no, I'm going to step back. I can't support it, not even how much I love it.
Here's the correlation. When Michael Bay was first brought on to direct Ninja Turtles, produced, sure. Some of the first stuff he said on Twitter, I think, there was a press release saying these new turtles are gonna be aliens, and everyone flipped out. No. Or that's not how Ninja Turtles works. So they were like, okay, no, I guess we do actually have to make them turtles. So at least they fixed that. I think it's a similar case with Battlefront, which is rare for big companies. They don't usually go back on what they've said or go back on plans.
Well,
but I like it when companies listen to fans.
I heard it took multiple tries though. Because the first thing they did was lower the price of the big characters. But then without telling anybody, they lowered the amount of tokens you got from the loot boxes.
Okay.
So that's where I'm like, okay, first time, that's on you.
Yeah.
Second time, we need to part ways. And then people start asking for refunds, and they disabled the refund button on the EA website.
That's not good.
Making the only way to get digital refunds was to call an overlogged phone system to get those digital refunds. And I'd be like, okay, you kicked me once in the balls, that's my fault for spreading my legs. That's my fault. You kicked me the second time in the balls,
That's your fault.
It's
for being
time to
sure.
buy a cup. So that's why I wonder if it was something I really loved.
EA,
would I be willing?
Stop kicking people.
If it was something
Right now.
if it was something I really loved, would I be able to say no at all? Because they just kept taking advantage of me. Do you think that was ever a point, like, you know?
Honestly, if they hadn't fixed it, I think the sales of the game would have suffered. Because people are not as forgiving about that kind of thing as they used to. I mean, when this stuff can come out on the internet, people can hear about it, and people are turning into smarter consumers because of the internet. So they're not gonna, spend $50, $60 on a game to not actually have any of the game.
I remember the hype. I was a teenager. I remember the hype for Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
It was huge. You could not escape it. I had Slurpee cups of every character.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, the first Slurpee cup I got was Sebulba, the pod racer. And I was like, I bet this guy's really important. I bet this guy's so important, man. Sebulba. I bet, oh man. Yeah.
That reminds me, there's a character that was cut from The Force Awakens named Constable Zuvius, who had a part. He was a character on Jakku. He had some like conflict with Rey and company before she left, but they totally cut his part for the movie. Unfortunately, Hasbro released an action figure of Constable Zuvius because they thought he was going to be in the movie. So, for months and months and months after Force Awakens came out, you could go to a Walmart or Target and find just stacks on stacks of Constable Zuvius figures. We were like, who is this nerd?
I liked Phantom Menace the first time I saw it.
Oh, we're frozen.
I was having a pretty tumultuous home life when the second one came out.
Yeah.
So I only ever got to see it like at home video.
I'm dark.
And I barely was paying attention. And then, no joke, I literally became a Trekkie the day after I saw the third one.
Wow.
I was buying into it for the most part. Until the very end.
Really?
When I just couldn't handle the dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Now, George Lucas even admits he does not write the most fluid dialogue.
And just as soon as he said, from my point of view,
That's the worst
the
line in the
Jedi
movie.
are evil.
That's the worst line.
It was literally just me going, I'm out.
Now, the intent behind that is fine.
Yeah.
Lucas just didn't know how to write that in a way that's how people talk.
Or at the very least, something a little bit more poetic.
Yes.
Than just be matter-of-factly.
Hold on. There are so many other ways you could have done it.
And so, I went home, disappointed. I think it was 06. G4 was airing Star Trek The Next Generation.
First episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. What was it?
It was Encounter at Farpoint.
What is that?
Oh, it's one where they meet Q for the first time.
Okay.
They come together as a crew, and Q tasked them by putting them on trial, humanity on trial. And they go to a space station, and they have to determine what's wrong there.
Okay.
And Q assumes they're going to make the wrong decision. He challenges them, and then it turns out that the problem with the space station was it was a living creature turned into a space station.
Oh, man.
And they had to free it.
That's always going to ruin your Tuesday.
Well, I watched one episode of Next Generation. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. And I was 4 when that show came out. And then over the course of the next 10 years, I watched every Star Trek show. And I was like, I literally just dropped one card.
Have you seen Star Trek Discovery?
No.
This is the problem. CBS, he's a Trekkie. He's hardcore. And he doesn't want to get the streaming service.
If I lived in England, I'd be watching it on Netflix right now.
Because people
CBS.
have Netflix.
Well,
That's a service that people have that people pay for already. So they'll watch a show on Netflix.
I'm not dropping $10 a month for
your-
Star Trek and Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But
This has been a public service announcement to CVS specifically.
But
I'm saying CVS like the drugstore. CBS.
and CVS while you're at it. Why aren't you showing us?
Why aren't you
Star
showing Star Trek?
Trek? I
Get the
dropped.
license.
I dropped one card. I picked up another. I became a Trekkie, and I never looked back. Now, when these movies when the new ones started to come out, in 2015, when The Force Awakens was coming out, my wife comes to me. She's like, I don't remember much about the Star Trek or Star Wars movies. Let's watch them all in order, chronologically,
Oh, that's an interesting way
and
to do it.
just catch up. So we watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for the first time ever, I actually watched Attack of the Clones.
Wow.
And it's bad. I can make a case for that first one, and I can make a case for that third one. But
Attack of the Clones is the weakest. Now, people say Phantom Menace is the weakest.
Attack of the Clones is the weakest.
I disagree. One thing about Phantom Menace is it has more practical effects, more models, more puppet work, and it's shot on film. It looks the most like the original trilogy out of all of them.
The only thing I really didn't like about Phantom Menace was the droids versus the Gungans battle.
It's the weakest part of the movie.
100% CG, and it doesn't hold up to the space battle.
Yeah.
Not in any way. Mostly because they spend all the time.
Star Wars uses a technique oftentimes called three fronts, where there are three different fronts to the battle, like a ground battle, a space battle, and a lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
So like a very personal conflict, an action-adventure conflict, and then a grand like space battle thing. And this is used in most Star Wars movies. The problem with Phantom Menace is it has four. It has Anakin in the ship, the invasion on Theed Palace, and then the Jedi fighting Darth Maul. And then the Gungans for no reason.
You don't even know what they're fighting for. They're just there.
One thing that movie does is it does the same thing that the original trilogy did. Lucas has a fantastic way of taking amazing like set pieces from other things like World War II dogfights, samurai sword fights, all of these different elements from different stuff and mooshing them into one package that's like better than the sum of its parts. The Phantom Menace does that as well, like the pod race, it's the chariot race from Ben-Hur. There are so many different aspects pulled from different things. Even Attack of the Clones, it's a mystery. And they should have played up the mystery aspect more. But it's a whole thing of of assassination, espionage, political sabotage. It should be like a spy thriller of trying to uncover like who is Darth Tyrannus, who is trying to kill Senator Amidala, and all these different questions. It just wasn't executed as well.
I never figured out who Darth Tyrannus was. I really didn't.
It's Count Dooku.
Really?
Yeah, that's his Sith name.
But he's not the guy that created the clone army.
He is.
Oh, he is the guy that created the
Yes, he was using the alias of...
They didn't explain this in the movie.
It's in there. It's just super subtle. What's the guy's name? Hey, Connor! Who's the guy that that Darth Tyrannus was pretending to be to get the clone army made? Sifo Dyas. Tyrannus was pretending to be Sifo Dyas. He was pretending to be a Jedi that's like way gone. And they never have. Now, admittedly, they could have made it more overt, but it would have been cheesy. I am Darth Tyrannus. But, yeah, there's all these different things. But yeah, no, and the reason Count Dooku, aka Darth Tyrannus, under the guise of Sifo Dyas, created the clone army, is all for the plot of Emperor Palpatine. Because
Order 66.
Yeah, exactly. They created these soldiers to fight this fake shadow war, this non-existent chess game, both the Separatists and the Republic, all being controlled by one guy at the center of it, just making them fight over nothing, so the whole place is in a weak situation, and he can take over. It's crazy. It's an amazing story that has bad CGI and clunky dialogue.
I am so excited to hear somebody excited about Attack of the Clones and say something good.
And for good reason, not just, I was a kid and I grew up with it. There's good stuff there. If you want to see a video called, watch a video called "The Prequels Are the Prequels Secretly Brilliant" or something like that. That goes through all of the actual story beats and elements that truly make it really cool if you can get past everything else.
What I gathered from the prequels was that George Lucas has the imagination of a child. For good,
for better and for worse.
For better and for worse, because that mystery was great. You absolutely left out what we're gonna call a love story. It is.
Yeah.
It may be. Look, full disclosure, I am a humongous Power Rangers fan. All right.
Oh.
So
you like camp. You get camp.
Yes, and I also tolerate bad acting and bad dialogue. But I also use Power Rangers as a fantastic low bar.
Yeah.
So when I say it was Power Rangers bad, that's what I mean. And so that romance, that love story was worse than Power Rangers. Like, it is badly written, badly acted, and when I finally watched it as an adult, as a grown man with a child on the way, with married to a woman,
That's not how it works.
I was like, that's not how you court somebody. Like, I'm looking at for me, that part of the movie was, and maybe it was meant to be, it was like one of those Lifetime movies with an abusive husband, and I'm just like, get away from him.
Yeah, he's kind of creepy.
He now, clearly dropping red flags everywhere he steps.
There are intentional things and unintentional things in the whole romance. The intentional things are Anakin being a super awkward nerd. Because he's a monk. The last time he saw this girl was when he was like, what, 6 or something? Not 6, but but he's
9.
He's a monk. He's been raised around like emotionless, cold other monks who say that romance is forbidden. He's not Han Solo.
No.
You know, he's not a smooth talker. He's gonna be awkward. Like the dialogue that's cheesy and the bad pickup lines and all of this stuff. Now, admittedly, it's not like Padme's falling for it. She's just going like, okay, yeah, sure, dude, the whole time. The main thing is that they didn't ever get past that and show something a little bit more genuine to sell the romance. They showed the realistic aspects of what this would be like in the situation, but they never gave any motivation for why it would be worth it to her or worth it to him beyond that. Honestly, I think that's the best way you could put it. It was just attraction. They were together. Now, one thing is, they were like basically alone, hiding for a lot longer than is portrayed in the movie. There's a great span of time from when they like leave and go into hiding and they end up on Geonosis and smooch. So there was a long period there that we didn't actually see of them, you know, bonding. Yes, but they just didn't sell it enough.
No.
You could insinuate and pull out enough subtext to make it into something,
but the reason I say it's like a child is because I feel like when I was watching it, I was like, I think
it's very simplistic.
Yeah, I think I had a feeling that watching that, I was like, this is how a child might picture how romance happens.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought when I saw that part. I was like, I think this is how a child would think romance happens.
Now, Han, there's not that much more between Han and Leia.
Oh no, it's the same deal.
Now, the difference is Han and Leia had some very good, charming conversations and like funny dialogue and everything else.
But the other thing is, Han Solo was a smooth talker.
Yes.
He was very charming, and I could totally. He's the kind of guy.
There's not any more substance there.
He's the kind of guy I can look at and be like, if a girl was walking past me and walked to Han Solo, I'd be like, yeah, I guess I can understand that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can see why she might. But if she walks past me and goes to Anakin and he says, from my point of view, that guy is evil, I'd be like, I need to ponder this for a bit because I don't get
How's that happening?
How is that happening?
What's the story there?
So for Han Solo, at the very least, you know,
How's this awkward monk kid?
I may not be able to see how Leia might like him, but I can totally see how any woman would be like, okay, the rogue-like qualities of Han Solo can be attractive.
The main difference is the Han and Leia romance was scripted by Lawrence Kasdan, who's an amazing screenwriter.
Okay.
Anything
else you do?
Connor, other movies by Lawrence Kasdan. Do you know any?
Movie by Lawrence Kasdan?
Yeah.
I do not know.
He's good. No, but he's written a lot of smaller stuff. But
I love exploring this thing from two different generations.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not like grandpa or whatever, but I mean, like, I like exploring these things from two different generations.
Yeah.
We're both saying like what we saw in this movie. After seeing this in front of me, I think Luke is right. It's time for the Jedi to end.